everyone, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. It's so nice to have you with us today. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. We are 28 live broadcasts strong, soon to go to 30. So please do subscribe to our YouTube channel, USA Global TV, so that you can be informed about all of our shows. Today's show is the art of creating mental health wealth. Such an important topic when we have all these issues going on around the world. How do we stay positive? How do we stay motivated? How do we use the arts to help us do this? Joining me for this exciting conversation is JENETTA Barry and the Epiphany Process, and we'll be greeting our guests shortly. Hello, JENETTA. How are you?
Hi, Dr. JACALYN. I'm well. How are you today?
I'm doing well as well. Are you still joining us from Africa?
I am still joining you from Africa, and it's sunny Africa. We haven't got quite so much overcast and rain anymore, which is hugely helpful because it's been cold. It's been very cold here.
Well, from what you've shared with us before, it looks like you're in a very beautiful location.
Oh, we so are just so blessed, so lucky, and can't wait to share it with you one day.
When you think about our environment, how important it is, how much it impacts us, it influences us and our mood and our vibrations, our energy levels. What are your thoughts about how your environment has shaped you and how you're feeling?
Oh, that's such a fabulous question because it's not only just about the environment that shapes your thoughts and you. I've seen lots of people who have moved to a better environment aesthetically, but whatever was going on inside them still goes with them. So what wasn't working in a lesser aesthetic environment moves through, and until you address all that internal stuff within you, the issues are likely to show themselves even in the aesthetically pleasing environment. So it's about being able to work on yourself, and I don't think I know it's something that we would all be wise to do for the rest of our lives. I certainly do it on a daily basis, and work on ourselves as we appreciate the aesthetically backing and pleasing environment. And when you've got the combination of the two, some powerful things can come out. But whilst the old stuff inside you keeps on bubbling up, it doesn't matter where you are, it's going to affect you.
Great points. Thank you for sharing that, JENETTA. How many times have we ourselves or people we know gone on vacation thinking, okay, I just have to get out of here. I have to get away from my stuff, from my issues. I'm going to go away for a week and I'm going to come back and everything's going to be different. And we come back and it's exactly the same, but we spent the money and the time going somewhere and nothing changed.
Exactly, because the issues are the issues. That's a nice distraction going away, and often you can forget about it, but a lot of people don't. They go away, and the issue then just festers on a holiday situation as well. So you can either distract yourself and get back to what was there anyway, or take it with you on holiday too, and then the holiday is a nightmare. So it is about being able to step into a place really, when spiritual people talk about being in the present moment, that is what working on the internal stuff helps you to do and become and create. Be present
Yes,
and
I agree with
grateful.
you.
Yeah, it's an
Absolutely.
amazing. It's not easy. I call it daily mental and emotional gym, and it's a workout, and you come out at the end of it going and I watch a lot of people who aren't prepared to do that workout, um, really distracting themselves with things that stop them from dealing with the overwhelm or dealing with the challenge. So that's when people turn to things that will fix them from outside themselves, whether it's whatever form of addiction or being attachment. It doesn't even have to be an addiction, an attachment to something that distracts you. And when that happens, you can't be present and centered.
And might it be that we don't want to be authentic with the world about who we are and how we feel, and we put on various masks and costumes to disguise ourselves because we just can't even deal with looking at ourselves in the mirror and saying, hey, this is who I am. I embrace who I am. I love who I am.
Absolutely. And so that's why many people who step into trying to work on their internal stuff, but are more attached to what other people think and say and do, and to those masks, and to whatever it is that they've attached themselves to, they find it darn difficult to hunker down and do that daily work without feeling like it's accusing them of being insufficient. But the moment one gets into a place where you go, I can't take another minute of disliking myself quite so much, or not getting on with the rest of the world and the circumstance, I can't take another minute and I'll do what it takes, then one peels away all those distractions and attachments and the facade. You're prepared to let go of it. I mean, I liken it on an extreme level to people who are in AA. You can't work with AA unless you sit there and go, actually, this is what I have been doing, and I'm no longer prepared to do it. Now, that's the extreme side of what we're talking about, extreme addiction. But it happens in many various forms on a lower level. And when we can sit and say, okay, that's enough, I don't want to do this anymore, and I can see I always say dancing this dance and running this pattern, and I'm charged by these charges. And when it's enough and you can't take another minute of it, then you're ready to work out every day and take accountability.
Get into the gym and do that work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks
Uh,
for sharing that. I just have a quick comment and then we'll have you introduce our guest. And this is on such a small level, but lately I've been asked to do a number of social things with people. And, I'm with my mom, keeping my mom safe for 2 years now, and I have my own health issues, and I'm in a really good place. So, some people, the same people, keep asking me in different ways, can you go to this party? Can you go out on this boat with us? Can you? So finally, yesterday, I just, after saying, no, I can't, I'm sorry, I can't, I finally said, I just have to be honest with you. The answer is no. I will go for a walk. I'll sit outside, but that's all I'm going to do at this time because my mission is to keep my mother safe. And that is the highest priority for me. And I think the person was kind of like, what? You don't
wow.
want to go here, there, and everywhere? And I felt like awkward even saying something on such a small level like that. So I just encourage people to be true to yourself because I feel better about the fact that now I don't have to answer all these questions. I'm not doing it. That's it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
It
do.
definitely creates that. Definitely.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
We have a comment, and then I'd love for you to introduce Tiffany. Adam is with us. Hello, Adam. Thank you so much. He writes, I wore a mask for a majority of my life. And when I made that decision to come out, I started shaking. Then I cried. But at the same time, a huge weight came off my shoulder. Wow, Adam.
Wow,
Amazing.
Adam, that's a huge, gigantic step, and it shows and shines through in all the work you're doing now. So kudos to
Helping so many
you.
people, Adam.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
absolutely.
Janetta, please do us the honor of introducing Tiffany.
Absolutely. So we are delighted to have our guest this week. Tiffany Rossdale actually hails from the Philippines originally, but lives now in Tokyo in Japan. So she's joining us from all around the other side of the world in Japan in her evening, her late evening. And a bit of background with Tiffany. I met Tiffany through the hallways again of Clubhouse, and she took my breath away. And I thought, what a lady, what an amazing story. And Tiffany went from being a provocative top trans showgirl in Tokyo's Shinjuku red light district to a powerhouse in the Ginza hostess scene. And leveraging her experiences in both these worlds, she went on to become, for many, the queen of Tokyo's nightlife, before eventually freeing herself of the toxicity of the underground party scene. And she made a drastic change to a daytime career doing PR, marketing, and sales, and then going on to become a force for positivity, growth, self improvement in the lives of the people around her, all whilst working through the process of her own mental and physical transition and transformation. What a lot of guts that takes, and determination and focus, and all of what we were talking about just now. What an amazing lady. And she now has an influential guests join her both in the LGBTQ plus community and outside of it, with her Breakfast with Tiffany show podcast, and how to find a better you by listening to people who've made great life transitions themselves. So, without any more hesitation, I'd like to introduce to our listeners and our viewers Tiffany Rossdale. Welcome, Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany.
Hi,
Welcome.
Hi, JENETTA. Hi, Dr. JACALYN. Thank you so much for that wonderful, wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it.
What an incredible backstory you have. That's amazing. It's
Thank you.
amazing.
I actually kind of forgot about that nightlife career already. although I'm still wearing this like leopard like animal prints. I guess I kind of like it's nighttime here in Tokyo now.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I was going to wear a leopard print dress myself today. So funny.
I should have worn, we should have all worn our leopard prints. We'd have been in uniform.
An animal party night team.
Tiffany, I know I have absolutely. Tiffany, I wanted to say to you, I had noticed in all your correspondence and whenever we've talked that you have kind of forgotten that nightlife side, and that toxicity, and yet I also get a sense that it was the very thing that's propelled you to where you are today in such a powerful place. How much of that pain, what did you have to go through to transition that, let alone your physical transition? What did that take? Where did you go to? What brought you to that decision we were talking about also just now to say no more? What was that pain point? Would you like to share that with us?
JENETTA, thank you so much for that very um beautiful question. Well, yeah, like I've been in the nightlife industry for about more than 10 years, and I I because I am a transgender woman, I thought like my career is only available to be on the nightlife, being a showgirl, being in the hostess industry. I mean, like the hostess entertainment industry in Japan. I never really thought about I have any other option for my career or as a job. And before that, I was before I became a showgirl and entertainer, I started working as a factory worker in Japan, and that's what the reason why I did that is because my mom, when she invited me to come to Japan, she told me that all the Filipino that comes to Japan, a lot of them they actually work as a factory worker, and I thought like that's the only career in the beginning too. So, but knowing back when I was in the Philippines, I know that there's a lot of trans women that comes to Japan and work as an entertainer. I didn't know where to find them. But then with the Filipino community, how they're like so tight and know each other, that's how my mom like introduced me and took me to a place where all these beautiful trans women work and as in a nightlife industry as a dancer, singers, performer. And so when I started being in that industry, working for many, many years, I didn't have any other option. I thought like that was the only career that I have. And when I had a lot of transition that happened during that period of time. When I started, obviously, I wasn't fully transitioned yet. it was a step-by-step process. And when I completely fully transitioned as a woman, I made another persona of me being a woman, and um, working as a model in Tokyo, and not letting anyone know about my real gender identity. So both are also part of the entertainment, and some kind of like also part of the nightlife industry, because I was doing a lot of events. I was DJing. I was hosting a lot of parties and in the nightclubs. So I there was so many things that I did in that time of my life, because I was not being authentic about myself. I was not vulnerable. I'm not showing everyone who my real gender identity. So what I'm doing is I'm numbing myself through experimenting with drugs, drinking a lot of alcohol, partying too much, like partying all the way until the morning, until the afternoon. So it, it, I am really killing myself, like little by little. And then it just came to the point that I had too much. And I think the relationships, besides the relationship having with um, men that I've had in the past, also the relationships with friends, knowing that there's so many people that just wanted to use you, so many people that just wanted to be around you because you're in that industry. So that toxicity, like, really wants to, um I don't know, like it just like, so it was too much to handle. Even I was drinking already too much. There's alcohol related and all that. Like, it doesn't, what do you call it? It doesn't, the alcohol is already like, even though I drink too much, it's still there. Like, I have all this. It all comes back to, I am not being vulnerable. I'm not showing the real who I am. So I always have the stress. So that's the start of my journey to transforming into, like I said, I quit everything, and um I just decided, like, just I'm done, and that's how it all started.
Wow, thank you for sharing all of that. You've been through so much. Was there a point when you just felt you were totally alone? That even though you were surrounded by people, but just nobody could relate to how you were feeling?
What a beautiful question. Thank you so much, Dr. Jacqueline. Um, the reason why I'm also out, I think, is because I always wanted to be around with people. So I don't want to feel lonely. I even had my dog before, who passed away uh, several years ago. So I wouldn't, every time I go back to my place and being at home, I have someone who can be with me. So I never really felt alone, in a sense. But there were times, like, even though you say, like, I have my dog with me, whenever I come back home, like, all this realization after all these things going on, this journey, I definitely had those moments where I thought about, like, to end my life, and I'm done. Like, maybe it's not for me, and I'm just like, ready to. There was thinking of, like, committing suicidal, but yeah, luckily, like, I never really did that. So
Thank goodness for that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got to where you are now. What would you say what would you say your legacy is now that you've transitioned, you've got Breakfast with Tiffany's, you're making a huge difference to so many people globally. Where do you see the bigger picture of what you're doing? Where do you see this going? Do you have a bigger picture, or does this feel like this is it?
thank you so much for that question, Janetta. I just think that all of this was a part of God's plan, and this was part of the choice I made to take um, that next right action, like, to really open my heart more, and this is a part of the path. um and I think I've learned a lot of lessons toward the journey, and I realized once I open up my mindset, it becomes like a whole different thing. So um I don't really see what's in my future, but what I've learned throughout the journey is just to be like, I guess I've heard it used, Janetta, like you and Dr. Jacqueline was talking about earlier, about being in the moment, being in the present moment. That's one of the things that I really, um one of my mantra now, like just being in the present moment and being whatever small things that you can do right now. I think it will always lead you to the right path that you are going through.
Thank you. Tiffany, I have a follow-up question for you. We have another show called A Woman's Prerogative, and I'd love for you to be a guest. I'm thinking that it's going to be in the middle of the night for you, but I don't know. But anyway, my question, we had a whole show about what is a woman. And I think we were all kind of struggling to even answer what that question was. And I'd love to have you weigh in on what is a woman?
Ooh. Wow, that is just a very great question. I think woman is um woman is very powerful, and I think I realize that even more now because I am a part of this community of nonprofit organization here in Japan, um, which is a community of women serving for women. I've learned a lot about women, understanding more about women, and I think what I've learned being in this community, the more I'm there, like the more they're very welcoming, and they're very they obviously I'm transgender, but like they really welcome me, and they never think about me as a transgender or whatever. So having me included in that space and welcoming me, I think is I really think that women are very I think there's kindness, and there's always understanding between women. And I think it's easy. I think I don't want to compare it to men, but every time I do collab, even if I collaborate projects with other people, mostly it's with women, because I think they understand me more. It's quite harder for me to do a collaboration with men. Although I used to be a man, but yeah, like I think there's this understanding, and there's this kindness, and there's this power in women that I think um, we need to have more women in different spaces.
Yes. Yes. Thank you very much for sharing that. Janetta, you were going to ask something?
I was. At the same time, have you found that it's been difficult? Because often women come to loggerheads in competition with each
Mm.
other. Have you found having transgendered, become a woman, become competition, have you found that's been a problem with other women who are not transgender or even transgender? Has that been something that was different for you from having been a man?
That is a great question, Janetta. Thank you for that. I think I used to experience that kind of jealousy, especially back when I was in the nightlife industry working as a hostess. I felt that because I did try to work with a few places where it's not exclusively for trans women. So there were other women. There were a lot of women in that, for example, bar that I was working for, and it is a competition because the clients that coming in are mostly men, and they're gonna select the girls who wants to have a chat with. And I I I realized that time that women are very competitive, and they would even even though I didn't tell the clients that I'm a transgender, they're the ones who's telling the clients right away that I'm a transgender. So then that the client will not um will not want to talk to me or something, right? So I found that really fascinating before, but now being in the spaces that I am with, I think I never felt that jealousy. I never felt that um, they treatment like I am transgender. So I think maybe back in the days it was different. I think it was definitely different comparing to now, which is I think more diversity and inclusion everywhere in every spaces now. So yes.
Tiffany, thank you for sharing that. I'm wondering, is there a time, or is it now, where you're no longer transgender, you are a woman?
Can you please repeat that question again, Dr. Jacqueline?
Yes.
I didn't
So
hear it. Yeah.
in other words, is the time now that you can say I am a woman, as opposed to I'm transgender? I am a woman. That's it.
I think so. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I don't know, that's what's coming to me, Janetta.
Absolutely. I mean, there's no doubt that every part of your energy, your spiritual energy, just is feminine.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Janetta's a little frozen there. A question I have, you have sort of a unique perspective. What could you share, any key learnings about, in general theme, how men treat women?
Very okay. That's a very
It's a deep question.
deep question. Yeah. um. Oh, I think there's so much. I mean, we live in a world now, in a new world now. And I've seen so much changes, and I think a lot of women are now raising their voices and they're really fighting for their rights. The same thing with what's going on with the LGBT community, right? Like our community. Um, and I think it doesn't have to be who's right or wrong. I think it's all about balance and all about having spaces and acceptance, most importantly. I think without that acceptance, I think we will not unite to each other. So I think it's important for us to what I love about your program also, I've listened to some of your shows that you were uh and you, Dr. Jacqueline, you're always talking about like you're a listening coach, right? And a lot of people doesn't listen, and I think listening is very important in order for you to understand the person. So I think that's what we're lacking in between men and women, I guess. Like there's not much of like listening before you speak up. That makes sense.
Yes, it makes perfect sense. And I agree with you. There's a lot of judging because
Mm,
we're afraid. We're afraid when someone doesn't look like us or doesn't act like us. And then instead of being curious, we start
yes,
judging, labeling, excluding.
so true.
And often having to be the one that's speaking calms the nerves and makes one feel okay. So if you can drown out anything else and just speak, then it becomes a coping mechanism that doesn't serve very well, but it probably served in childhood somewhere. It doesn't anymore. So I mean, there's no doubt that that's where you sit now with your podcasts, is listening to a lot of
Yes,
people.
exactly.
Amazing, amazing.
And I asked you this backstage. How's your experience been as a podcaster?
Well, I love podcasting. It's been 2 years of my podcasting, Breakfast with Tiffany show, and for me, what really inspires me is the most is I think hearing other people's stories, and I believe that we all have our own stories that we all can share and learn from, and it empowers me to do more good in life. And yeah, like with the podcast also, like finding out about other people who have succeeded in their lives is such inspirational. And for me, doing the podcast, interviewing people, and was always been fascinating and inspiring at the same time, and I always learned something from their beautiful stories.
And you interview people from all around the world, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. And if
And I would
someone
I would
wants,
I would sorry, I would love to have you, Dr. Jacqueline, and also Janetta on the podcast show, because I believe you both like share a lot of amazing wisdoms.
thank you. It would be my honor and
Yeah.
pleasure. I'd love to. How can people sign up to be on your podcast, or is it by invitation only?
Oh, it's open to any podcast platform or any music apps that they can listen to. They can also reach out. Like it's also posted here. If they type in Breakfast with Tiffany show also on my homepage, there's also a link. Um, yeah, like they can listen and they can. It's for free, and that's the purpose of the podcast is to um to talk about very important issues and to raise awareness.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. Now, we talked about that one chapter of your life, and let's talk about what you're doing currently because you've made a big career shift. What type of industry are you in now?
Thank you for that question. I am now I'm doing coaching. I'm a certified life coach, focusing on transgender women. I say this because when I started coaching since last 2020, I experimented with many different types of um, people who came to me to coach, and I've learned a lot from that coaching with different diverse people. But I really um, think that I need to focus on trans women because that's where I've been through, and I think I can resonate and I can coach more um, because I've experienced and I know and I can resonate with this with the experience that the trans women are experiencing. So I want to focus on that. And besides doing coaching, I also host wellness retreats, which I did. It's been really challenging to do during the COVID because wellness retreats obviously have to gather people, but um, luckily there were some people who attended and they loved it, and I really want to continue doing hosting wellness retreats. At the same time, I can also implement my coaching through the wellness retreats. And also I am doing I'm an aspiring actor. I studied acting for this past several years, and the reason why I want to do that is because here in Japan, the LGBTQ representation for the media and the film industry is not many. And I thought that if I can do that, and if I love acting, if I love doing this type of skills, and I did love it. So I've been starting to collaborate with small projects of being in a film or being in a commercial and all that. So those are the two main things that I currently do now, besides my podcasting.
Congratulations. That's very
Yeah,
exciting.
it's amazing,
And
amazing. And I would imagine that you're very successful in helping other transgender people, women, because they trust you. What you're working through with them, you have walked the walk and talked the talk. So you're not reading it out of a textbook that you've studied to become a life coach, and that must make a hugely different impact. Do you find that your success rate is profound because of having been through it yourself?
Oh, thank you so much for saying that, Janetta. I really believe that um, I can coach transgender women because I've been to so much struggles throughout my journey and transformation, and I believe that they're they're going to be experiencing the same struggles. So I think in order for me to be able to help them and not be on the same struggles, I think I can share what I've learned towards this journey. And like what I said earlier about my career, knowing that I'm only a performer, I'm only a shower, I'm only like in this industry is, I think in a new world that we live now, like there's so much things that we can do. Like now I found out I love acting. I found out I can do podcasting. I found out that I can do coaching. So there's so much thing that we can do as a transgender, not just being, like in that box of, like industry that they think that, oh, this is the only thing that we can do and we have to be here the whole time, which is not really productive. I would say that it's a good part of my journey too, because I've learned a lot from that experience, but we need to flourish, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that you continue with your curiosity, experiencing new things, because there's so much out there for all of us. And if we don't have that willingness, that openness to try new things, to embrace new things, then we're missing out, really.
Yes.
Absolutely. It is. It's always about stretching ourselves out of that comfort zone. I always say, when you're in your creative space, we've been created by the creator, so we are part of creation, which means our creativity is the most important part of who we are. But if you study creativity, it always comes from stress, pressure, and pain. A mother can't birth a child, and it's such a wondrous, joyful occasion, but the pain is there, and the stress and the pressure. And artists will tell you their greatest greatest artworks came from their most difficult moments. So stretching ourselves to new projects and new ways of approaching, and even improving what we're doing, is a stretch. And you very clearly do that.
Thank you.
Kudos. Well done.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Question I have for both of you as we come to the end of the show. You met through Clubhouse. I was on Clubhouse for a while, and it's kind of a really unique experience, similar to podcasting, in that you can't see the other people, right? You can only hear their voices. You can only listen, and you really are forced to listen, I feel, at another level. So what are some key takeaways for people out there who are watching or listening about being open to meeting someone without judging them, without putting a label to a face per se, and just listening to what it is they have to share? Tiffany, I'll start
Um,
with you.
okay, thank you. Yeah, Clubhouse has been really a great experience. When I was in Clubhouse, I like what Dr. Jacqueline was saying. Like, there's a lot of listening. You really have to listen, and it taught me a lot of people's perspectives. And because we all have different perspectives, so listening to each carefully listening to each and everyone, I think, is very important, and that's what Clubhouse, and also what also taught me about Clubhouse is to raise my voice. In Japan, being a Japanese, they don't want to raise their voice because they don't want to be cast out of the group or the community they're in. So they're not like it's not like they're not allowed to speak up. It's just that they don't want to be cast out amongst their communities. That's why they'd rather shut up and not like say anything. And I adopted that because I've been living here in Japan for 8 years, and I adopted that because I thought, like, I want to act like Japanese. I want to know, I want to understand Japanese. I adopted that that kind of attitude. But then I realized when during Clubhouse that, because it was also open for Japanese people, they don't really raise their voice, and especially if there's like very important topics. And I realized like, oh, I became like them, and I realized that I really need to raise my voice, especially being a part of the LGBT community, because I think there's not many people who raise their voice and share their stories, which can actually impact and make people understand that it's important to share your stories and um your and the reason why you have to share your stories too is also to make people understand your gender identity, and how they can be acceptance. Again, it's all acceptance, right? So in order for us to be accepted by all the communities.
Well said. Thank you. Jeanette, a quick comment from you before we close out.
I loved Clubhouse for networking and meeting amazing people like Tiffany, some very good new best friends, Karen Dark being one of them I met through Clubhouse. I'm a very visual person. So as much as I enjoyed that people were listening differently, I found for me that there was a missing in them understanding often what I was saying because they couldn't see my face and my body language. And my form of work is very out of the box. So, and ironically, when I'm doing sessions with people, I don't have my face showing, so that when they're processing internally, they're not distracted by my face or body language. But when I'm explaining the process, that body language is so important, and the misinterpretations that crept up without that side just astounded me. In fact, in the end, I decided not to have my own club and my own show there because it was a missing. But what a powerful platform, and it's been so successful on many other levels of what I do.
Of course, we're not paid spokespersons, so just throwing it out there. Tiffany, how can people reach out to? We have your banner showing, but for people who are on the radio or people who are unable to read the banner, what's the best way to contact you, and who should reach out?
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Jacqueline. But before that, I just wanted to say my deep gratitude to you and Janetta for making this platform of yours. It is a truly inspiring and a thought-provoking conversations that you guys have been doing here, and I always learn a lot from both of you. And I really applaud you both for doing such amazing and for empowering us all. So thank you so much for that. And if anyone wants to reach out to me, like they can I'm very active on my social medias, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook. But what I really want them to go to is to listen to the podcast, because I think the podcast is where where we really share this amazing stories that we can all learn from different people, different types of people in walks of life that has um such incredible stories to share. So definitely check out my podcast, Breakfast with Tiffany show. And yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We hope that you come back and see us again.
Would
Thank you so
love
much.
to have you again. And also World Jenny's Day would be amazing to have you represent Japan around the world. So we'll talk some more.
Yes, please. Arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you again, Tiffany. Have a beautiful rest of your evening there.
Thank you. Have a great
Yes.
evening. Have a great day to you guys. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Janetta, thank you so much for bringing Tiffany to the platform.
Oh,
We
we
she's
did it.
yay. We need to close out the show, so I'd love to spotlight you and have you share with our audience how they can reach out to you.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Jacqueline, as always. I'm available at theepiphanyprocess.com if you'd like to know more about how to communicate clearly without misunderstanding and without being filled with fear and judgment, or if you are, how to handle it so that wise words come out, and you're authentic, and people really get you in the most difficult of circumstances. And if you'd like to know more about World Jenny's Day, that's worldjennysday.com. It's a day on the 10th of October being platformed here at USA Global TV throughout the day, using theatre and the arts to soften and normalize conversations around depression, suicide, and their solutions. So if you'd like to talk to me about either and reach out, it would be an honor and privilege to meet you and chat with you.
Thank you so much, JENETTA. We'll look forward to seeing you later today on Talking Heads, and also on A Woman's Prerogative when you have those matchsticks out, keeping you up till midnight. So.
Oh, thank you, Dr. JACALYN. Speak to you later. Love you all out there, to all our listeners, to all our viewers. See you this time next week again.
Thank you again. Bye. Thank you to each and every one of you who are watching us or listening to us on the live or on the replay. We're so happy to have you. Our next show is coming up, and it's a brand new show. It's called Dream Believers, and my co-host is Sarah Jillian. So please do join us for that and learn about how your dreams can come true as well. So we'll be back just under 15 minutes. Look forward to seeing you there.